going live. We'll see.
Yay!
If they see us, which I didn't turn my volume down. I didn't go to YouTube. Didn't do anything. It's all right. So hi, everybody. If you can see us, very, very excited to get to talk about this with you guys. I do want to give you guys the chance to do most of the talking since I already kind of gave my full thoughts in the vlog, but I also don't like to shut up, so we'll see how well that goes. But I obviously love the book. I gave it 5 stars and everything. Robin, why don't you introduce yourself, your channel, and what you thought of the book?
I'm Robin from Paperbacks and Planners. I post on Instagram, and as I said yesterday, I pretty much post TBRs right now.
Right.
It's okay.
But good TBR videos.
It's fine. I gave it 5 stars. I already called it that's my favorite book of the year. I actually bought a physical book. I do not buy physical books, but like...
And you got the special edition.
I did. It's so heavy. Like,
it's so heavy.
I don't know what it... Like, if you feel the pages, they're like so thick. Like, I picked this book up and I was like, this is a weapon.
It's heavy.
But yeah, that's how much I loved it. I was like, it's my favorite book of the year. I don't care that it's June.
We're halfway through. You can say that.
Fine.
I guess I'm next. I'm Sarah. I mainly post on Instagram, but I do Friday reads here on YouTube, usually every week, unless something's going on. And I also really enjoyed it. I'm going to be real with you. I'm on the fence if it's a 4.5 or a 5, but we'll get into that because I did absolutely love it. So it's maybe being picky.
Yeah.
I'm also very like free with like my 5 stars. I'm like,
yeah, I am too. Right. It'll probably end up being a 5. I think it's not a 6-star, but it's probably going to be a 5. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty much where I am too. Definitely a 5. Not sure if or where it will fall on my favorite of the year list. I know it will be close. I'm hoping, honestly, that I read enough books I love that it would get knocked off. But right now, it's firmly entrenched at like the top.
And I think that's it. Is like I say that now, but I wholeheartedly hope that there's more books that give it a run for its money.
Yeah, we hope for more.
I feel like I will go like, I don't know. I feel like I'll go like 6 months with maybe like 4 favorites of the year, and then I'll read 3 in 1 month.
Yeah. Yes. It was like I read this, Thresholds of Annihilation, and Not Safe for Work like back to back, and I was like, well, that streak's over. I'm not getting a 5 for a while now.
No more 5s for me for a while. I have that problem sometimes.
Yeah, I saw your update for it and I was like, oh, you've had a really good reading month thus far.
Sometimes when that happens though, I'll purposefully read something that I know isn't going to get a 5-star so that like I can be like, all right, we're just going to get this out of the way, because I don't want to like read that book that I think I'm going to like be a favorite and it's not going to live up to all the other ones.
Yeah, well, that's like the day after release date of this, the day after I read it, I got the arc for The Wrath of the Dragons, which is like also in my top 5 anticipated releases of the year. I was like, I'm not reading these back to back.
Can't risk it.
Yeah. So I read nothing for a week instead, which was maybe not a good choice either. But so I want to know you guys' impression of when you found out, like right at the beginning when she talked about like being pushed in the pool and drowning, and how she's drowning like, or all of them are, multiple times a day for these dreams.
And like, was that in the synopsis? Like, I don't think I read.
I don't think so.
I think it just says like dreaming and stuff, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it says
dreaming of having no dreams at all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it definitely does not say that
it doesn't
drowning.
Say that. No.
Yeah.
Like she's literally dying.
Yeah. Right. Like I understood that she was like going in the water and like swallowing water or whatever, but I thought, magic. I was like, whatever, she's just suspended in time and space. No, she's like full on drowning.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I read that part and I was like, oh, so she's not actually dying. The magic is just keeping her alive. And it wasn't till like halfway through that I went, I don't think it was keeping her alive. I think it was. I think it brought her back, but I think she died.
I did not realize that she was like dead until the reveal. Like I didn't realize until it was spelled out on page and we were dead. I was like, what?
Excuse me.
Yeah.
What do you
And
mean?
then like the whole like blood and like ritual thing, I was like, this is real creepy.
Yes. And this is
The blood
type,
caught me off guard.
Yeah.
it's the type of dark that I like because like there's a lot of dark stuff in this book for sure, but it didn't feel like extremely
wasn't heavy.
stressful or like, you know, horrible. It was horrible, but it wasn't that feeling of like this is the darkest thing I've ever read.
I feel like she did a good job of being like, okay, there's going to be dark themes in here, so I don't need to like bash you over the head with it. Like there can be like comedic relief, there can be character development, there can be like these really descriptive scenes as the dark things are happening. And so it didn't just like overwhelm you.
Right.
She did a fantastic job of balancing it out.
Yeah.
I think you're right. She cut it really good, especially Gargoyle. He was my favorite. Precious baby Gargoyle.
He was my favorite too.
Sorry.
That I will say, I kind of see, this is why I'm not sure on the rating. I kind of went in expecting it to follow the beats that it did.
Yeah.
But that was the twist that got me, was who Gargoyle truly is. I stopped and I started to cry. I was like, no.
Yeah.
I was upset. I was upset. Yeah.
Basically, as soon as we started talking the Weaver, I cried like every other page for the next like few days.
Maybe that's part of why this book hit me so hard. I don't think I ever read the synopsis for this book. And so I had absolutely no idea what the synopsis was going in, because I was just like, Rachel Gillig's writing a book.
So did you not even know that the other designers were going to disappear?
No, I knew that there was something about dreams. That was
I didn't know they were going to disappear either. Yeah. So
I never read the synopsis.
That's wild. Because I knew that they were like, I've known that, you know, since the book got announced, because I did read the synopsis multiple times. And still, I was really impressed with how much of a sisterhood they had, especially like they didn't know each other's real names. They never like looked under the veils or anything. So it was kind of faceless, nameless sisters, but they were so attached to each other.
I pictured like a whole veil. I didn't realize it was their eyes.
It's
I saw the picture and I was like,
see, I too wanted it to be the whole face. I was like, this is cool. This is like some like, my brain went to D&D. I was like, this is like the Raven Queen's like shroud thing. Yeah, but no, it's this. That's less cool to me.
Yeah. When I saw the artwork, I was like, huh?
Yeah. I was like, oh, so my headcanon is just this. Or to here. Like from
because is it the UK cover that has the
it's
I had already seen that before reading it, so
I did too, but still in my head, I was just like, whole veil.
Yeah, I mean that's what I would have if I didn't have that picture for sure.
I do love that UK cover. I think
is it just the UK or is it it's the German cover, right?
Is that what it is?
I don't know. I know it's not our cover.
It's not.
I think it's the German. Yeah, it's the German cover.
Yeah, that one's
where she's like facing up.
Yeah.
Oh, that cover's so pretty. I pulled it up again. It came up when I searched German.
Yeah, I loved the dark elements in this book too. Yeah. I think we all did. But were you guys surprised when it was revealed that her eyes were stone behind it, or were you expecting it?
I was expecting that.
I think at first I didn't expect it. You know what I mean? Like when her sister is like, oh my God, I was like, oh, there's like some like deformation or something like that.
Right.
It wasn't until like they met the first not God. Yeah. And I was like, I bet she's turning to stone.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Same. It wasn't until we talked about someone else having stone eyes and we already knew that the other diviner was appalled looking underneath the veil.
But even all of that, I still did not ever think like, oh, the gargoyles are also like, I did not make that connection whatsoever.
Yeah, that one surprised me. I didn't get that either.
But they were fully stoned now. I was just like when it was revealed, I was like, duh, they're stoned. Like, that makes sense. But I never went there.
I was surprised by the abbess when she was taking off her clothes at the very end and she's completely stoned. I was like, you are not. But yeah.
I didn't expect her to be fully stoned. Like, I knew that she was who she was pretty early on, but so my sister read it after I read it because we share a Kindle account. And she texted me, my money is on Bartholomew being the name of the first foundling, or maybe the gargoyle is the first foundling and they all turn into gargoyles. That's it. Don't tell me.
She is good. Oh my God.
I didn't see that coming at all.
I'm good at like seeing twists, and I didn't see Bartholomew being the twist.
I did not either.
No.
Good job.
Well, right at the beginning of the book, it's that quote that shows up again later in the book about how, like, basically they're an unreliable narrator and they're telling the story as best they can, but and that was to Bartholomew and everything. And I was like, okay, so we can't like trust everything that we see, and also like this is very important, this is important context and stuff. Doesn't mean I saw anything about it.
And I will say, I am not the type of reader that one ever figures out, and I don't try to figure things out. Like, I'm just here for the ride.
Yeah.
And so I am definitely like the weird one where people are like, that was so obvious. And I'm like, was it?
Right.
My bad.
Yeah, I'm literally just reading along. So my mind will make predictions and connections, but I don't work at it at all. And there's a lot of very obvious things that I'll be like, oh, that's surprising.
I wish I could read that way.
Yeah, right, exactly.
It's constantly going, oh, this, and I'm just in the back going, shut up.
Just enjoy it.
I want to enjoy it.
Well, like, my husband's ADHD is such that he's 5 minutes into a movie or show and he knows all 3 twists are going to happen. Yeah. And I'm always like, you're wrong. And he's never wrong.
My husband stopped watching movies with me. Because he had this whole project when we were dating. He was like, I'm going to make you watch all these movies you didn't watch, because I had conservative parents. Yeah. And I kept watching them. And then 5 minutes in, I would say like this, and this. And he'd say, shut up and enjoy the movie. Right. And then when I figured out the twist to The Prestige, he said, I'm done. I'm not watching these anymore with you. I was like, so I'm right.
Yeah. Turns out that's a thing.
That's the struggle. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so I don't envy you that at all, because I am busy like, I don't know what's happening. Let me just keep going.
Sometimes it makes it more intense because I'm just like, just figure this out. It's this. Yeah. And then I just end up not enjoying it. So it kind of like.
So what did surprise you the most in this book?
It was Bartholomew.
Yeah.
It's Bartholomew. That one because I love him.
I know. She did such a good job of making him like so lovable and important to you way before that reveal came in that really hits.
He's just childlike enough. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, protect him at all costs. But also he says such things in a way that you're like, you have to pay attention. I don't know. It was perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
When did you figure out that the king was going to betray them?
Pretty early on, honestly.
It was around 40%.
But I can't remember if it was the first or second god. Yeah. Like that I was like, I think it was the first one.
The scribe.
Like he said, I think he like said something or did something, and I was like,
yeah. She was definitely leading you into that as he became like more kind of
I did not see him betraying his friends, though.
Right. I thought that he would overrule them. This is what I thought was going to happen, right? Mm-hmm. That I figured we were going to end the book based on the Shepherd King duology, right? I figured we were going to end book 1 kind of with a similar cliffhanger. Yeah. So I was thinking that the king was obviously going to use the diviner for power. I felt like all of that was spelled out pretty clearly. Yeah. I figured he was going to make that decision Rory wasn't going to be able to live with it, and he was going to end up like, you know, having to leave or be executed or something like that, you know, that type of thing, and like planning on coming back to her. I absolutely didn't expect him to turn on Rory first. Like, maybe he was like kind of betraying him, but I thought he was going to betray him in like a political, moral.
I thought he was going to keep all of the like powerful things and be like, no, now I want power, and they were going to feel betrayed because he wasn't actually destroy them. Yeah, that's how I thought. I didn't think he was just going to be like, sorry, your lives are forfeit.
A lot. What the other thing that really surprised me with it was that he wants to make her his queen, because like he wasn't in love with her or anything like that. Like that was not what it's about. I don't know. I just expected him to have, you know, this diviner that agrees with all of my proclamations and stuff. I wasn't expecting a marriage.
I thought he was going to be power hungry, which obviously he was. I just did not see.
Yeah, what was it? He said, thank fuck or thank God or something. He turned and he just hit Rory, and I was like, oh, I didn't see that part coming. I was like, oh my God. Yeah. That did take me by surprise.
I was definitely, that's one of the reactions in the vlog where I'm just like, what am I doing?
I thought he was going to hurt Maud too, and I was going to be very upset because I loved her. I was like, please don't hurt her.
I did feel like it was realistic that he didn't like do that, because it was like, you have had like a lot of years of relationship with these two. Obviously you feel like, you know, you need to be your own adult and your own king, and this is the path that you're going to go on, but
this is a bad decision you're making.
Right. Yeah. I'm curious to see what happens with him, because he kind of feels like one of those characters he's not all bad, but like he's decided to value power over everything else.
Yeah, he seems like he doesn't know how to not be the like child king and went too far. And so it's like you like understand how he got like
where he is,
the logical leaps that he took to get to what he decided was a good idea.
It was not.
It wasn't a good idea, but you can follow his leaps, his thought process.
I am curious to see how it goes, because it feels like such a flimsy plan too. Like, I'm gonna take her and she has to agree with me, and y'all are gonna run away. So like, what's to keep her from just being like, I'm with you, but you know, I'm not gonna say anything you want me to say. I'm just a figurehead. I'm gonna stand here and be like it just feels like a flimsy plan.
How he's going to explain Rory and Maud.
Yeah, like what?
I don't know. They're not nobodies in his guard, you know what I mean? Like, they're not just like random people. Like, these are figureheads.
I'm assuming his like paying off of the other knights will be what covers it up. Like, they'll come up with something or say something. That part did make me mad. Like, we talked about using all that gold to pay off their families, and I was like, you son of a bitch. That part did make me mad.
Yeah.
Also, Rory being a commoner, I think, is a big factor, but Maud's not a commoner. Like, she's nobility, and it doesn't say anything about it being an issue because of her gender, right? There's like nothing said about that in the world building. So
it's just her, like, she's tenderhearted and she's a good person.
Yeah, I mean, he'll probably just say that he sent them on a mission or something. Like, who knows?
Or they fell with the Abbey, because they did knock the Abbey down.
Did he say that actually?
He might have. I don't actually remember. At that point, I was like speed reading.
Yeah, I felt like he said something about the plan for them to disappear.
You know what? Yeah, because he was trying to get them trapped in there so that he can be like, here, if you get trapped in here, I don't have to like do anything.
Yeah. That makes some sense. But that's also just a terrible plan, because when they come out, everybody's going to be like, but you lied about them being trapped in there. I don't know. Maybe there's more here. And the spirits are going to have to be a big thing. The sprites. Were they spirits or sprites? The little creatures in all the world.
I think they called them sprites.
The sprites? Yeah, she talked about them too much and showed us too much about how they're all starving. I am assuming especially since Maud said she doesn't like to kill them, and neither does Rory, that's going to be the big thing, that they're going to use that somehow to save the day.
Yeah, I am curious for that because it was introduced, but you didn't learn anything else about it.
Yeah. Right. All we know is that they attack because they're hungry, and it's very obvious and pointed out that they're hungry because humans hide their food sources. So they're going to use that somehow.
For sure. And as a matter of fact, that's part of why the gargoyles being the sixth diviners really surprised me, because I genuinely thought the gargoyles were sprites, and I thought the difference was they were fed, right? Yeah. Like, I was like, this, explains everything with it, but that wasn't even it.
What do you think? So we know with One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns, she switched point of views in Two Twisted Crowns. Do you think she's going to do that in the sequel to this one? Are we going to get like maybe Maud or somebody else's point of view?
I think we might get dual.
You think so?
I think we'll keep Rory and Sybil at the very least.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if we add somebody on. But like, I don't think there's going to be a second couple the way that there was in One Dark Window. So I don't know what she's doing with it. But I agree that there's going to be some sort of
second view
change, kind of.
I don't know who else they would add, because she kind of had a small cast in this. It felt like
I definitely feel like if any of the other diviners were still alive,
it would be one of those. Yeah. The only thing I would stretch it to be would be if like Rory and Maud went to, it was the cliffs, like maybe one of the communities they go to they'll probably go somewhere for shelter, and like the cliffs, I could see them going to the cliffs where those people were followers of the Weaver, or into the woods. Like maybe there's somebody there that they'll meet up with or something.
Right.
I also am curious if the because they could never find that one artifact or whatever, right?
Chime.
I'm wondering how that's gonna all come in. The fact that they
did get the chime.
I was going to say, we did find the chime.
Yeah. So the noblewoman was ringing it when they were in that ceremony for the king.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So they found everything because the Weaver's one was at the
Abbey.
Yeah, that's right. Because I remember at that one point they were like, "Oh yeah, we've already killed the god or whatever," but we could never find. We forgot that it was.
That noblewoman said she found it in the clearing. It was a gift or something.
Right.
And then she got
then they were a little crazy.
Which I do think that part was interesting, especially because the Weaver was like awakened, right? Like she knew what was going on, and she basically chose to starve to death rather than eat the diviners and stuff. And then the people who worshipped her were most closely influenced by her. They were the most normal and empathetic as well.
It did have a lot of really good commentary on religion in here.
And then I think the sprites and stuff was a good commentary. And like there was some environmentalism in there too, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, for sure.
And the way she just like sprinkles it in is like, her point is very clear, but it's not just like, it's not just like, and here's why this is important.
Right.
If people aren't looking for it, they may not see it, which is probably, it's a little subconscious almost.
Yeah.
Right. No, I do typically try to avoid religious trauma themes or religious abuse themes. But like this and T. Kingfisher's Saint of Steel series, that's like the type of commentary with it and exploration of it that I really, really like.
Yeah.
Because like we said at the beginning, it's not that this is like a dark, heavy book. It just kind of is able to explore those themes in a fantasy way so that it doesn't feel traumatizing.
Right.
It's not like a religious horror book where it's like, oh my God.
Right, exactly. But also, like you see right at the beginning, like, oh, this is not a good system. Like, it's not. None of this is good. And I also like to, I liked the pacing with that and everything, with like Rory already not being a believer and being like, you know, not happy about it. But also not, he didn't really take that out on her or anything, because she was just a believer. She wasn't someone who was taking advantage of other people's faith, right?
Yeah. And I think he also was of the mindset of like, if people knew the things that he knew, they would not.
Right.
You know,
they would understand.
It would like tarnish that. And so I think he was very much just like, okay, you're a believer, but you're probably going to change your mind as we go through this and you start learning the seedy underbelly, which again, I think is probably pretty valid.
I also liked that right at the beginning, it was specifically talked about how it was the rich who were able to pay to have their fortune told, basically.
Which was an interesting contrast too when you think about the later part of the book, when they get to the cliffs and it's everyone that's there and celebrating, when they, especially because they aren't, because the Weaver talked like she wasn't actively acting as the Weaver, so those cliffs were pretty much functioning almost on their own, it felt. So that's interesting.
And that she didn't like kill the diviners.
That broke my heart. I kept hoping. I was like, oh, I hope she finds one. I want her to have a friend. And then
she's like, they show up dead. I was like,
that one. I knew they were dead. Like, I knew it, but I also was kind of hoping. Damn.
Yeah, I don't know why. I was like, maybe they haven't been eaten yet. Well,
I was like, obviously they've all died up until this point, but I figured they were like delivered alive. And so
exactly.
The reveal that they arrived dead, I was like, oh.
Yeah, that broke my heart. And then she's talking to the abbess, and the abbess is talking about how she snaps their neck. And I was like, oh my God, can we just get rid of this woman?
Also, like the absolute cruelty of it, because I don't know why, because we'd already seen Rory using the artifacts to go, into the college and everything. And then we knew that the scribe guy, we knew his artifact could do the same thing. So clearly all of them could. Never occurred to me that was what was happening, that's how she was doing it. And it's just such needless cruelty, because she could go into the locked room at any point. She could have snapped all 6 of their necks, right? The very same night while they were sleeping. Yeah. Instead, she disappeared them one by one, so the rest just sat around knowing that something was happening.
Well, she did say that, like, it's because of you, 6. Like, I think she was doing it to 6 from the start. Like, 6 stuck out with the girls, and
like, she's like, you messed it all up. Yeah.
She wanted to blame, and she wanted 6 to feel it. Like, she was needlessly cruel.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, as punishment.
Yeah, because she was. Yep.
Were you all surprised that she could control the dreams and which way the omens went?
No. Yes, I was surprised by that. I
was surprised, but it made sense. I was like, that explains a lot, because when the king got all bad omens, at that moment I was like, this isn't just by chance. Like, something's
going on.
Yeah, something else is going on. I did not see it being her controlling them.
Right. I thought it was the individual gods controlling their own.
Yeah. I had that same thought, because we got about, when was it that I had the thought? I think it was like right before the Weaver, and I remembered he had gotten 5 omens, and I thought, that's not right. This whole book has gone great, and there's been 5 bad omens, so where are they coming from? And that I had a suspicion that it's like maybe the dreams aren't actually real, but I never thought she was sending them.
Yeah. I lost my train of thought.
Okay.
I read Robin's message of BRB, and that was too much for my brain to stay.
Short circuit.
We took a turn. Oh man, it was something about the omens though, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe we'll circle back to it at some point.
It'll shake loose. Just give it a few minutes.
Yeah. I definitely thought that like the stuff with the king could be explained by I don't know, them not approving of him, him trying to change it, although I don't know how they would know that, that type of thing. I didn't really think that she was deciding the omens. I definitely did think that when she did the dreaming with just Bartholomew and it was a completely different scene and everything, I was like, oh, well, maybe it's because like it's not with the abbess or they didn't do like the ritual correctly or, what have you.
Though, thinking back on it, it makes a lot more sense now because Sybil dreamed for the king, but they had already killed the artful brigand at that point, and yet she still saw the coin. But the abbess didn't know that he was gone, and then it was obvious that Bartholomew's dream was different.
Woodcutter too. Was the woodcutter?
Yeah, the woodcutter was gone too because they just didn't have the chime.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Like she definitely laid it in the text. We just didn't pick up on it.
Right.
Exactly. Good. I appreciate that in hindsight because I really dislike it when the twist comes out of nowhere and there is no previous like building for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I liked the reveal with the king because it's like you knew a reveal was coming.
Yeah. And there were little notes in there, like he's talking about how he doesn't quite do things like the normal knight, talking about Rory and ways his eyes would shift and stuff. And I was like, this fella be up to something.
Yeah. And then the whole like knighting of
they got to an argument about that.
Where he got like
what is happening right now?
Yeah. That was weird. That was strange. I wasn't a fan of that.
No, me either. I was like, no. I don't like anything that's happening.
Yeah. I was like, this is really uncomfy. Something is happening.
Yeah.
I think partially just because it's like if you have spent your whole life in service to something, like I don't want to see you promptly going to a different type of service. No. I really don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did like that whole arc for her where she was so like her purpose was defined by serving to like slowly kind of want to be her own person. Like that whole character growth I really liked.
There was a quote that Maud said that ties to that. It's hard to see who I am when I'm lost and what's expected of me.
Yeah.
That got me. I put a tab on it and everything. I was like, that's so good. That is so good. That was a good quote. And it does kind of sum up her arc really well.
Yeah.
Carry on.
I have to, and this is a silly thing to ask, and I'm aware. I have to ask, there was a word use like halfway through this book after the mountain sprites attacked. She used the word highfalutin. And I was like, it took me out. I completely jerked out of the book and I said, excuse me? Does anyone else use that word in their vernacular? Or is that something that like...
I've heard it a lot in like medieval times books and movies.
I have no memory of this.
So hold on, let me see if I can find it. The reason I ask is because I've never seen it in a book before, like in text.
Uh-huh.
But it's something that like Appalachian, like I'm Southern Appalachian, we use it constantly. He's got some highfalutin manners on him, but she used it in the proper use, and I went, "What?"
I must have just missed that because I would have been like, "What does that mean?"
It's very weird. It means pompous or like over the top. I've always heard it in a very sarcastic way.
Right.
Yeah. It took me aback. I'm trying to find where it was.
That's so funny.
It took me aback.
I agree. I have always, or usually at least, heard it in the context of like poor or country people kind of using it as a criticism for
insult,
snobby or rich or.
Right. I thought, like I said, I just always heard it in the Appalachian vernacular, and I just assumed it was something, we made up down here. But no, it's an actual like fancy word. It's an Appalachian word.
Oh gosh, that's hilarious. I did listen to it on audio, so it would have been easy for me to just like miss that.
Yeah. It's just funny.
It was so funny to me.
Yeah.
Oh my god, and Fig the horse. I liked Fig.
Yeah.
I will say those interactions with the gods were super creepy. Like that first one, I was like, oh dang.
The scribe was especially creepy to me.
Yeah,
I was like,
that scribe, I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
Climbing on the shelves and stuff.
He's almost like spiderish, almost.
Yeah, that's what
the side of spider I don't like.
I feel like the oarsman creeped me out a little bit more because the way he was like holding her on the throne and stuff.
Yeah, that was also.
But they both were.
Yeah, I think it was just because I have terrible arachnophobia, and the scribe gave like weird spider vibes because he could just like scuttle up things. It was like,
too much.
I did have that thought. I was reading it, and I was like, he feels very spidery, and I was like, I bet Robin hates.
Oh my god, that worm scene in the.
Yep. With the weaver.
Yeah. A little bit rough. I also liked that the weaver being in her room was actually to see Bartholomew because she knew him.
I remember him. Yeah.
I thought that made a lot of sense. That was another one where I was like, oh no.
Yeah. She was talking about coming to see him, and I went, no, stop.
Yeah. Because like when she was first in the room and stuff, I remembered like the sound of her legs being in the like prophecy dream where she had never like actually seen her. I was like, oh no, the creepy like legs. That's where we're at. And then it wasn't even like trying to hurt her or anything.
I for half a minute thought maybe she would let her live, but then she was like, please kill me. And I said, oh
yeah,
I kind of don't want you to.
Right. That was rough. Yes. And then the gargoyles turned to stone because they stopped with the water, and the weaver turned to stone because she stopped with the water. And guess who's not getting water anymore? Is Sybil. And so I like don't really know what she's gonna do.
I wonder if that's how the king's gonna hold power over her though, because like we talked about with Rory and Maud gone, he's got to have some way to make her come to heal. So maybe he's going to send somebody out and dig up the spring and be like, you have to drink this or else you're going to turn into a gargoyle.
Yeah. I think she
and they were saving, like they were collecting water, it sounded like, for quite a while.
They may have some, like he controls her source or something.
Yeah. It would make more sense, like you're saying, it would make more sense to hold on to any of the 3 people that she cares about in the entire world. But we're not doing that route for some reason.
There's got to be something he's got, because otherwise it's like, unless part of the plot of the second one is she gets away quickly, but I don't know.
Yeah, like who knows?
I'm really curious to know what the fate of this like river is, like this water, like because it still exists, like it didn't go away.
They just put it under stone. Anyone could figure it out.
So I'm like, what is do we just leave it there, like is it just buried,
this super powerful god making water?
We're
just gonna let it chill.
Which it is interesting that it wasn't the abbess that ever had the power. Technically it was just the water.
She was just using it.
Yeah. And like that was another part too where I don't know why, but it just really surprised me that the merchants / gods were dead when they went in the water.
Yeah. That did surprise me. That they went on the hill and fought. Yeah.
And they had like no memory or control, but then they still ended up, kind of leaning into it. But
yeah, and the weaver did say like she never bothered to check her loomstone on herself, and then when she finally did, she remembered. So again, like it's there in the text, it just didn't pick up on it. I thought that was impressive. She talked about how she remembered her wife and her family, and she couldn't go back.
Right.
I was like, oh.
Yeah. It definitely was.
The Heart Weary Weaver or something like that. Heartsworn. I can't remember her title.
Yeah, something like that.
That whole part was really sad, like her remembering the whole time. So not only was she not drinking the water, but she had the memories like that whole time that she just like stoned.
She didn't want to do it anymore, and the abbess was just, oh my god. That was rough.
Yeah. And my sister and I were talking about why Bartholomew could remember and the other gargoyles couldn't. And I think we basically decided that she had learned from him, right? The entire point was that, you know, she figured out that you couldn't just have one person do it for forever because they eventually got sick of it.
Yeah.
And I forget even, I feel like I had a theory on why he could remember.
But he says that he doesn't remember for a while.
Oh, no, that's what it was. My sister said it.
Yeah.
It's because it goes back to the quote at the beginning. He's been told this story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the same way that you're told about your early childhood.
Yeah.
And have knowledge of things that you don't actually have memory of.
Yeah.
Same thing with that. That's what it was. Thank you.
Yeah, because he did say at one point that he didn't remember. And then,
yeah,
because and like you said, I think part of it was he was like the experiment, the trial.
Yeah,
and she was so mad that he failed that.
Yeah, right.
She like told him to like torture him essentially.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I don't think that she thought it was going to be an issue either. Like, I think that, you know, she was like, we're in this together. And he got tired of drowning for her.
Yeah.
I also wondered if it didn't have something to do with perhaps he was a little older than most of the girls that she picks up now. And because he kept his personality and his name, like there was something still there underneath all the trauma that like caused him to keep his awareness. I
feel like he was younger, actually.
He might have been younger. But he could have also just been more spirited. I mean, she didn't do any boys after that. She only wanted girls because she thought they were easier to break.
Right.
Which she might be right.
They were more docile and more willing to put up with the pain. I thought it was interesting.
I did think that was an interesting thing where it was, they were better at putting up with the pain. And I was like,
women are,
I mean, that checks out.
Yep, it checks. You take it and you're just like, okay.
Right. How did you guys feel? Because I didn't really like this part. I understand why she did it, but I don't love it. How do you feel about the abbess not really having humanity because she was a stillborn baby that was in the stream, so she never actually lived?
Yeah, she was tossed into the water. I didn't care for it either, to be honest with you.
I think it makes sense for the story. I think it's like, I think part of it too for me is like it explains a lot of her character that like she was literally tossed away, and because of that, like does not see her actions as being evil because I was tossed away, so I can toss you guys into the water too. And so I do think it like made
some sense.
Yeah, it kind of explained her process that she wasn't just evil for the sake of being evil, that it was like, I was literally just thrown away. Like I was garbage and I was saved by this water. And so now that's what I do.
Yeah. And it does explain like Heather said, her complete lack of humanity. Cause she's essentially, she is just the embodiment of the water. She has no moral compass.
Yeah.
It's a stillborn baby thing for me. I'm not a fan, but I get it makes sense. And it does. There's other folklore, like The Witcher has the Slavic folklore, and there are stillborn baby monsters and stuff and that. So like it's a common thing, but just not fun to read about.
Right. Yeah, I think it checks out world building wise. Like it makes sense.
Yeah.
I just don't know that I love it.
No, I definitely don't. But
I don't think anyone's like, that was so cool.
Right.
But it is one of those, that like it explains.
It does a very good job of explaining. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes I think it's also frustrating when you get this like villain and you're just like, I do not understand why you're as evil.
Why are your motivations this way?
Yeah.
On that note, I will say I kind of wish that they had more of a fight with her. Like it felt like it was over in like 4 pages.
Yeah, she was defeated pretty easily.
And I think
for whatever reason, like she's not going to be the big bad of the series.
Yeah.
It's
which
gonna
is
be
the water thing, because she was the embodiment of the water, and now the water is just buried.
Yeah.
So it's like she was defeated too easy for that water to just be like done with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is something else at play, and I stand by. I think it has something to do with the sprites.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I guess in a year.
I was also definitely surprised that kind of at how quickly she fell. I was like, oh, all right, done.
Yeah.
Which
that's why I was like, there's something they didn't get rid of the water. The water's still sitting there. She was the water. The water's gonna find a new way.
Right.
Somebody's gonna find that stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Somebody's gonna go back for it.
Also, I don't like care if fight scenes are dragged out, so that doesn't necessarily always bother me when it's like, actually, we lived happily ever after and it was kind of easy. Like that doesn't always bother me, but I don't know what she's gonna do with it. I do know that whenever the second book comes out, based on her writing and the way she does everything and the first duology and everything, I feel like we're going to have had quite a few things that were like clearly kind of stated in this book that were
and we're gonna be like, how did we miss that?
You told us in like chapter 1.
Yeah.
Do we have a name or anything for book 2?
No. She has written it though. It's already written. Star? So she has said that it is like with the publisher and everything like that. It's done. She just doesn't have any information on exactly when or that.
I'm hoping for next year.
I'm hoping for 1 year, especially since it's written. Like it's
And typically, I will say, like, with Orbit titles, they almost always buy completed series. Or at least they used to. They're doing a little less, but usually they release stuff pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Well, I know she has a standalone that is written and sold that is being published after book 2 of this, like after the whole duology is out.
Interesting.
So it's As Luck Would Have It, or something like that.
Is it a fantasy or is it like a romance?
It sounds like both. It sounds like
another romantasy.
Basically, she falls in love, or basically she enters a deal with the god of bad luck. She's like the unluckiest person.
Okay.
And he has a deal. He needs to get like someone to get like over 100 years worth of bad luck in the next 30 days or something.
There it is.
Push down
it's a fantasy rom-com.
Yeah, so she like knows somebody tried to kill her basically, and he's going to help her figure out who it is while she's going to get as much bad luck as possible. And is it actually unlucky to fall in love with bad luck himself?
Yeah, As Bad Luck Would Have It. I just found it on our website.
Yeah. It's already on Goodreads. It just
I think I have it on Goodreads already.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for that. Is that from Orbit too?
I want to read it.
Yes.
Is it?
Yep.
So I'm just excited.
Also from Orbit Books, my first fantasy rom-com.
Yep.
That's gonna be fun.
Standalone.
I do find it interesting, both book-wise and for this live show, like how far we are into it, and we haven't really talked about the romance much because, while I like the romance for sure, it does feel like a lesser part of the book. It's just one B plot.
Yeah,
but it's
still good. Like it hits. It scratches that itch that I need
without overtaking the plot.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a fantasy with a romance. I don't think I would even call it a romantasy.
Right.
Because it's a fantasy with a romance. And I could say that as a fantasy reader.
Right.
It's not so much a romantasy, it doesn't feel like.
Which is interesting too, because you get a sex scene in this first book and stuff, which as soon as all that was happening, I was like, we are not ending this book happily together.
You guys are not.
I know why we're getting this right now, and it does not spell out good things for the future.
All I could think was enjoy it while it's happening.
Yeah,
right.
You are.
It's like, I mean, there was plenty of romance there. Like it hit all the beats that you would want, but it's not.
There's so much other stuff going on.
Yes.
That And I think you would have to choose one because like you could not have all of these like terrible things happening and this like angsty romance. Like you had to choose your battle because it would have been too much.
Yeah.
I also I really like the length of the book and stuff, so I'm really happy with the balance that we chose. I don't necessarily need another 100 pages of the couple.
Yeah.
I like the length.
I think it would have taken over the story at that point. So I think she did a really good job. To be fair, I thought One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns was pretty good for that too. It was a little heavier on the romance.
Right.
And it dialed back in here, which is perfect for me. So I liked it. I thought it was very good.
Yeah. I feel like this is the exact same thing we were talking about for the Firebird Chronicles last night because, you know, it's a sci-fi series with a romance in it. Like it's similar to this on the B-plot romance where it's like because there's so many other things happening and I'm so interested in those other things, they're done so well. I don't mind that, you know, it's not fully romance. And then every time we're getting a romance scene, it's like really hitting. It's like done just as well as everything else.
That's good.
I really liked them though. I liked the banter. I liked kind of the little bit of antagonism between them without it being like true enemies or anything like that. I just liked the trajectory of the relationship.
More reluctant allies at first.
Right.
And then
I loved that the dynamic. My favorite part of the whole book was when she picked him up and threw him on his ass.
Right. And it's like a romance antagonism doesn't have to mean like actual real dislike or being mean or anything like that. Like it can be foreplay. It can be flirting.
The scene where the diviners all get really high.
Yeah. Oh god.
That was great.
Those scenes were great. I was like,
that killed me.
Yeah.
And then he like shows up and he's just like,
oh god. It reminded me completely different book and tone, but what was the name of it's one of Chloe Lisa's books. Was her name? It was the manager of the team. She used to she takes weed gummies to help control her chronic pain, and he walks in on her while she's throwing them back, and she's high and he's not. And he's like, "Whoa!" It kind of reminded me of that. I was like,
Yeah, I love a safe under the influence. So we're doing confessions or something.
It did such a good job of showing the girls' bond without it having to like take up too many pages. So.
And I think it handled her grief pretty well, all things considered too. There was something I read. I read The Gentleman and His Vowsmith recently, and there is an event that should cause a grief reaction, and it's like kind of swept under the rug, and it bothered me. But we see Sybil like, you can feel her pain, and it was good. I thought that she did a good job.
Also, like that period of hope that she would find them, or that she'd be able to keep the other ones from disappearing. You know.
Yeah.
And you really see her go through like the stages of grief of where she's like heartbroken and then like angry. And, and then that like little bit of hope when she gets to the Weaver, and then
and there's who was it? One who was laying there on the table.
And then her just like being like, nope, okay, I'm done as a diviner. That's it. We're done. Yeah. Took the shroud off and tossed it.
Right. Yeah.
I'll also say, for a woman who was shoved under the water and drowned and all dressed up as a doll, I appreciated that she was just super strong. It talked about him making the beeswax mold and how his arm can't fit around her bicep. And as someone who lifts weights and has, muscular arms, I was like, yes, my Girl Scout muscle.
But she wasn't like stupidly strong to the point where it was like, where did you learn all these random skills? Yeah.
But it's she's using a hammer and chisel. She's stoneworking. And I was like,
she's literally just like doing a physical trade, basically.
She does a physical trade around the Abbey.
Years. Like it all makes sense.
she builds that muscle mass, and I was like, yes, I like this. This is good. This is believable.
For sure.
Because a lot of times, nasty romance, you don't. I don't believe it.
Yeah.
Right.
I have a starving.
They pick up a sword one time, and they're like, "Oh, look, I'm so good." I was like, "What?"
They're like, I starved for most of my life, but here I am wielding this longsword. And I'm like, girl, no.
Right, exactly. That does bother me too, because it's like, I don't mind all the time. I don't mind if you explain it away with the sentence of I secretly trained, whatever, whatever. But yeah, especially like when you are describing like physical starvation, especially this is what bothered me so much in Fear the Flames, which I did still really like. I think it's the type of book that people will either really love or absolutely hate, but I really liked it. But one of the things that like bothered me so much was the background is basically she's starved and tortured from like 2 years old or something dumb in a like dungeon. And I was like, all right, so like she's not physically developed, she's not mentally developed, whether you talk like she's not a normal and strong and like healthy human. That's not happening.
Like, have you ever picked up a sword? Those things are heavy.
The same can be said for bows and arrows. Have you tried to draw a bow before? Oh my god.
Oh my god, pulling it back requires so much strength.
Yes. Oh my god. I picked up ACOTAR the other day, the first book, and she's talking about starving, but she's shooting these animals in the forest. I'm like, girl, how big is your bow? Is it like this big? Then maybe.
Yeah.
Right. No. And it really bothers me too, because like any amount of starvation, but definitely starvation for years and stuff, your body literally never recovers from that malnourishment. Like you're ill for the rest of your life.
Yes.
So I'm like, we're not suddenly the strongest, fastest, most trained of all time. You gotta pick a struggle, pick one or the other. I don't care which one.
If it's fantasy, it's like, okay, yeah, you could. There are different species and they can recover whatever, but you have to explain it. It can't just be a person.
Right.
We need something.
Yeah.
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 I agree.
Healing, anything, like magical healing. Fine. Okay, cool.
Literally all you have to do is put the word magical in front of it, and I believe you. We have loophole.
I am more than willing to just ride with it if you tell me it's magic.
And that's actually one of the things that like I really like about this, because her background and like the beginning of this book and all of that is pretty tragic and rough and stuff, but it just doesn't feel like trauma porn or let me build empathy for this character by letting you know everything that they've been through.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that is used a lot, especially when like the love interest was mean to them or whatever.
Yes.
It's like, well, actually you should have been nice because they were starved and beaten and all of this stuff. And it's like, okay, well, we could actually do character work that isn't just they survived the worst thing you've ever heard of.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is done for her.
I don't like to borrow trauma, as I've heard said before, and sometimes it can be a little heavy in some of this stuff, unnecessarily used.
And I feel like the fact that the abbess was almost motherly to them made it worse, because she like legitimately took care of them and they like bonded.
It was like subtly more traumatic.
That was literally like my other complaint with Fear the Flames, which again, I'm reading the next book, the arc. I'm reading it like ASAP, so clearly I do like it. But the whole reason why she went through all this was so they could get her to give up her bond with the dragons and stuff. Mind you, it's by her own father, the king, right? And in my mind, I'm like, if you were kind to her and raised her as a princess and raised her with loyalty to her nation and kingdom and stuff, you would have such a better chance of success. So why are we doing this? It doesn't make any sense. And I think like that is good character work, where it's like, the abbess was more in control by being kind, by faking kindness for an emotion she didn't even feel. Like I don't think she felt it, right? I think that's part of her character.
She learned over all of those attempts of working with the diviners on how to mother them in the right way to get them to want to do
right
stuff for her.
And she always had, after it showed, like she revealed everything else, back thinking she does kind of have, there were scenes where she was talking, she would have a very flat affect. And I was like, it makes a lot more sense now. Like she's acting, she thinks sociopathic almost, but she's fantasy creature, so
right, exactly. And I think when you were reading it, like some of that can just be explained by like
the moment it just goes by.
Religious leader that all of that stuff, like all of that kind of fits, but it was more than that, which was really good.
She did a good job.
She did. She really, really did. I was watching like a reel or something of like the most mild criticism.
Did you get upset?
And I clicked off. I was like, actually, no.
Get out of here.
I was like, no, I will accept no criticism.
Actually, no. This isn't fun for me.
That's so funny.
It was not bad either. It was basically by like it was like Sam from Tomes? Something Tomes.
Oh, yeah.
Tomes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she has always been like, she read the fantasy with like I don't know, like I don't know, the old series where it's like book 6 before you actually get a kiss or whatever. And like that's her preference, which is completely fine. So she was basically like, the romance was too fast, and I was like, nope.
Absolutely not.
Out of here.
I know you feel that way. I understand. I already knew that you would feel that way, but I can't listen to you right now.
I am still in my honeymoon period. Please be quiet.
Don't do this.
And like I said, like as much as I love the romance, it doesn't even feel like my favorite thing in the book, which like I am a romance reader. 99% of the time, my favorite thing in a book is the romance, right? But my favorite things were Bartholomew and probably, honestly, despite my protest, the religious themes, because I just really did appreciate and like resonate with it. Like she has to be like ex-evangelical or
even the last book too was, I mean, when you think about it, also like capitalist anti-religion sort of.
Right, very much.
Yeah. She's from California. That's all her bio says, because I'm going to be real. After she used highfalutin, I was like, is this woman from Appalachia? What's happening? And I went and looked. Like, no, she's from California.
That's so funny.
It threw me so much.
Right. Well, it is just like the most random thing that because of the context your brain has for something, it will stand out to you so much, and you literally like can't get over it just based on your own experience.
It was just funny. But yeah, she's from California, so who knows over there. She may have all kinds of history with that sort of stuff.
Right. She did a great job with it. Anything else that really surprised you guys, or that you're hoping you get answers for in book 2, or favorite parts?
We best protect that gargoyle.
Bartholomew isn't.
He was like falling apart there at the end.
I know.
His wings are busted and stuff, but he didn't like to fly anyway because he didn't want to be mistaken for a bird.
Right.
Which as a bird hater, I can respect.
That's my only requirement, and I will be devastated.
Someone better put him back together.
Yes.
I will not be okay.
Fix Bartholomew, please.
I'm seriously not going to be okay if he's not fine. Like, I'm just assuming he is going to be fine, because you can't have a romance without happily ever after, and you can't have happily ever after without Bartholomew.
Right. I am Team Bartholomew. I really don't care about anything else at this point.
I know. He really was my favorite. And it's just the type of humor too that like works for me so well.
Yeah. Because it could have gone badly.
It
could have gone really bad, but It was perfect.
It's the type of comedic character where like you do actually have to have the skill to be able to write those witty lines, and like you actually do have to be funny like that.
Well, and his like funny lines wasn't him trying to be funny. Like he was legitimately trying to communicate things. He just didn't necessarily know how to communicate it.
Yes.
There was like something where he was like, Sybil, she's amazing, but she is completely useless. And like, all the things he would say. And he was just always he came across as someone who had like very sarcastic lines without any intention or actual sarcasm at all whatsoever.
When you know he was a kid, it makes so much sense, because think of like a 6-year-old like talking to you and they're like, you're old. And you're just like, oh, thank you.
Right. Yeah. And especially because like, again, not to be like on a loop here, but with the Firebird Chronicles, there's also a character that like,
he reminds me of Jen.
Was a child, but has lived longer than a child without like emotionally developing, right? And it's the same type of thing where it's like, yeah, you've had decades to learn more vocabulary and things like that. So it makes sense that you talk this way, but also you're just not emotionally mature.
Yeah.
So it also makes sense that you talk this way.
Yeah. I keep telling my friends, I was telling one of my friends about it last night, and I used the cold shoulder and the cold lips. That thing, why are you giving him the cold lips? And she said, do you mean the cold shoulder? He says, why would he want your shoulder? And I said, like, it's so good. And yeah, it does make sense, because like I've got a 5-year-old and she would say stuff like that.
Right. And then you just think about, you know, the adult vocabulary just given to the 6-year-old basically. And it's like,
what does this mean? Why do we say it this way?
Yeah. Right. It checks out. And also the offense at being corrected too also feels very
pouted a lot. So much pouting.
What do you mean I'm not right?
Right.
You can be her squire. Oh, be the best.
Yeah. And also like I did not see like the 6 diviners being the gargoyles, even though I was wondering what happened to the 6th diviner usually.
Yeah.
And also like he had said at least once, maybe a couple times, that the abbess had said like she would be the one to stay with him. Like she had promised that she would be okay and stuff. So like I was fully expecting something, but I still didn't really see it.
Yeah.
But just he was like so attached to her right from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting too, because right when he's first introduced, like I didn't get the feeling that she was like super attached to him. I felt like she just kind of saw him a little bit as a bossy little annoyance, but she did a good job developing that.
And again, it makes sense for a kid. Like kids have attachments to you know, like certain
random
people in their life,
people and things.
Oh, the other thing was from the synopsis, which you guys didn't read the synopsis apparently.
Part of it.
I like the cover and stuff. I don't know. I thought she was blind until I like started reading this book. I literally thought she saw like with magic or something. Like I thought she was blind. She was not. None of that was true. She had stone eyes, but could see.
Yeah. So I will say I also had that assumption just based on like this and the German cover. I was like, okay, so maybe she can't see. But then I saw Rachel Gillig's like artwork she did, where there's one where Sybil is smoking the idleweed and like blowing it in Rory's face. And I was like, why is she wearing a headband thing? Or what am I trying to say? Not shroud. Because my thought was like, an eye covering her eyes somehow. But yeah, I also had the assumption that she was blind until I actually got to reading. I was like, oh, okay, never mind.
I also wonder, is that a thing in like Percy Jackson or like the other like Greek myths or anything where like the oracles were blind? Is that like a reference that I might be thinking of? I'm not sure.
I think
I thought she was. I thought she could see first of all, I thought she could see the future, like actually what was going to happen, right? And that was another thing that was misleading in the synopsis, was that she couldn't see the knight's future. And really it was just because she had good old Bartholomew putting her in the water. Like, it wasn't anything special about the knight.
So, just as a quick Google search, some were and some weren't. The oracles of Delphi weren't, because they were on drugs. But the legendary Tiresias, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, he was blind for a while, but he was not always blind.
Was it Crescent City where the oracle was blind?
Was it what? Oh, Crescent City?
Heather, or is that the one?
I just feel like this is like a thing I associate with seeing the future. You can actually see physical.
I want to say it was in Crescent City too, where like they take her to the oracle or something like that, and the oracles are all blind.
Or was it in Kate Daniels? The witches in Kate Daniels, they could see, right? Like the crone, maybe? I don't know. I was just very surprised by that. In fact, I was like
wait.
When she was like climbing on the stone wall right at the beginning, she's like talking about the feel of it and stuff. And I just like assumed that it was, through familiarity. And then it was like, and we saw them come over the hill or whatever. And I was like, what? What do you mean you're seeing the knights come over the hill?
So it could be like it's a trope, because the whole like if you don't have physical sight, you'll have metaphorical sight, which makes sense. Odin was missing an eye, so that could be maybe. Was there something maybe with Norse mythology that's? I'm not sure, but it could just be the trope that's making you think that, because I agree. I was also just assumed that she was blind, but it's just a really common trope for
partially the covers, the artwork, and also she was a diviner.
Okay, yeah, I was like, there's definitely a fantasy that like all the oracles are blind.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
I have definitely read a lot of fantasy with blind people being oracles and seers, so I'm not surprised.
I was just surprised by that. I was like, oh, okay.
It was a pleasant surprise, though. I'm glad she wasn't blind. It would have made for an interesting experience reading it. I don't know how she would have written it, but it would have been interesting.
I think the story worked better that it wasn't. It was just something that I was startled by. As I was reading, where I was like, wait a second, you're all seeing this?
What do you mean purple flags? You can see colors?
And then also I was surprised that it was just seeing the omens and it wasn't seeing like the actual person in scenes of their lives or their future or anything.
Which makes
sense. She never actually saw the omens. It was just like
it was just their tools. Which makes sense, seeing as how the abbess was doing them, and the abbess doesn't really like associate them with the people, just as they are the tools. That's what she sends.
They were just random people that
It was also kind of surprising how much pain they would go through in the dreams. Falling in the different scenes and stuff. It was just another point of like, this is really bad. This is not a good thing that is happening.
And it was especially creepy to me because like Sybil talks about how she snuck in and watched one of the others do a session, and she just laid there prostrate and didn't do anything, but she's experiencing this like pain. And I was like, that's a little bit creepy.
Also, right at the beginning, when one of the other diviners was like, they like you the best because you don't like struggle as you drown or in the water or whatever.
That line came up, and I didn't realize they were actually dying. And I said, "Why not? Why should just lay? She just gonna lay there and it's fine."
Right.
Nope.
Yeah. Like and honestly, she was talking about how like none of them wanted to do it, and then she was talking about like how the water was kind of gross and the blood was kind of gross and everything. I was like, all right, like I wouldn't want to do this either. Like, and then it was like, and she drowned me, and I was like, what on earth?
So I will say that for half of the book, I was thinking, are they sticking the diviners in the water and it just corrosively eating them up when she's done with them? And I thought that would explain why the water was so tepid. And she talked about it almost feeling metallic and heavy in flavor. And I said, there's something about this water that's really messed up. And I wonder if that's going to come back later because she talks about the water. Like there's like
the smell. Yeah, it smells like dying flowers. Yeah,
rotting flowers, and like that's not how spring water should smell.
Right, exactly.
So I'm with Robin. The water is going to come back, and I think we're going to find out. There's something there.
I can't wait to find out.
It's going to be good.
What she's going to do. Also, I think just because like I have a lot of faith in her that like whatever she's doing, she's going to pull it off. So I'm really excited.
I was just thinking the way because I expected so much. So it's not that I expected so little from Two Twisted Crowns, but I thought I knew it was coming. But she surprised me so much in it that I'm like, I kind of want to temper my expectations. I'm afraid. The sequel's not going to be as good.
Yeah.
But
I did have a moment like as I was starting this, as I was like, what if it's
not as good?
What will I do?
One of my most anticipated reads, I read it a couple weeks ago. It was terrible. So I had this thought. I picked it up and I was like, oh, please be good.
I was really hopeful. Obviously, Robin did end up reading it first because she got an early audiobook.
Yeah.
But like there was a bunch of early reviews and I wasn't like looking for spoilers or anything, but they all seemed to basically be like, yes, this delivered what I was hoping it would. So I was like, surely.
Yeah.
Surely it will.
I remember you and I had that conversation. I was like, I see the positive stuff. I'm not reading the full reviews or listening, but like fingers crossed.
Yeah.
And I'll also say I don't like this cover, but I like that this is Sybil and not like Rory and Sybil, which is what I thought at first because she gets knighted. And so it's a little better. Yeah. It's still not my favorite thing.
No, I like the other one better.
I don't like it either. I think
I do like these.
Oh yeah.
It's very beautiful, just not
the
only thing. And I feel like it's a little close to being my taste. Do you guys have the Omen like cover pages or whatever? Because I was just watching on Tori Between Pages. I was just watching the vlog where she reads it, and she was showing like they're like chapter headers or something, but they're like full black pages with the like inkwell and the.
Those are in the.
Is it the Target edition?
Target edition, yeah. So there were three. There's the one that she has, which is the actual like one.
This is the regular.
Yeah, this is the one that has the edges, and then the other one has the chapter.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I mean they're all pretty.
Yeah,
and the Target edition has a pink toned cover instead of.
I just didn't like the pink.
So I don't like the pink either.
I was like, why?
I think for 3 different editions, I absolutely hate when they do this. Or they do like too. I hate it, but I think they did an okay job with it this time because I didn't particularly like the pink Target edition, but it's nice that they have the insert pages and then the Barnes and Noble one's got the edges and stuff. I don't know. They did okay. They just didn't add any extra bonus chapters, which is
I hate when they do that.
That's the saver. Yeah, that's
the thing. 3 different bonus chapters. I don't want to buy all 3 copies. No.
Like at that point, I'm not going to read the book. I'm not going to read it.
Yeah, I don't even like looking them up online to read.
I'm not going to do it.
No, I refuse. Yeah, no way, Jose. Yeah.
Even when it's like characters that I love and I want more of them, and like I want it, I don't know. There's something about it that just annoys me.
It's a cash grab, man.
Yeah. Right, for sure.
Yeah, at least with this, it's literally just the foiling. It's like that's all it really is. Is this one's blue, the other one's pink, and that one is silver. Like that's it.
It's just aesthetics. It's just, and they're easy to get, so it's not a big deal.
Right.
It's not people making a mad dash run for them. Yeah. But who was it? SJM with her. How many editions with the extra chapters? There was like 5 of them or something ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, thank you.
But you know, she's big enough. That's exactly the type of author that can get away with it, right? Yeah. People will buy.
People will buy them. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
I don't know what I was going to say. Never mind.
It's okay.
Something else. Oh, I definitely would have bought the paperback if it was already out, right? Because I paid $15 for the ebook, which is like
insane.
I don't know, like $7 more than I've ever paid for an ebook because I just refuse. I'm like, this is dumb. So like at that point, for sure, I'd rather pay $20 for a paperback, but I don't love hardback or hardcover books. So I'm like, well, there's no point in paying what $28 or whatever for cover that. Like I don't even. Really want
and for what it's worth,
$30.
Yeah, $30. For what it's worth, since it's Orbit, the paperback will probably be good quality.
Yeah,
I'm an Orbit now. I already got the ebook.
Yeah. If you were to get the paperback.
The
hardcover is currently only $21 on Amazon. But yes, if you go to the store, it's going to be $30.
Yeah.
Well,
I do think it was $5 off because it was like I got it on the release or whatever, and it was the new release $5 off. But even still, like it's
I was trying to think. Target usually knocks 20-30% off, and then Books A Million knocks off usually 10 to 15 with your card. So it depends on where you go.
I was just like looking forward to it so much and was like, yeah.
If I hadn't gotten the audio copy, I was gonna buy the ebook too. I was like,
yeah,
it's gonna happen.
Well, I was really like, a $15 Mother's Day present is not expensive.
Right.
So like
that's how I justified this because it came out Mother's Day. And
I was like, it's not a $15 ebook, it's a $15 Mother's Day present.
Yeah.
Completely different.
Completely different things. Yes.
But thankfully it was worth it.
Yeah.
It was
nothing like paying more than you wanted to pay for a $3 or not $3, a 3-star book. Like, kill me now.
Oh, don't think
I'm literally never going to get over it. Every time I think about, a book that I paid too much for and I didn't like it, I will be filled with it. It's 7 years later. It was $4. Doesn't matter. It was trash. Can't do it. All right. Anything else that you guys specifically want to mention? I feel like this was a really good talk about it. I feel like it was fun.
What are y'all picking up after this? I know you said you haven't picked up anything, right? Or have you started something?
No, I did. It wasn't any good.
I'm reading right now All Superheroes Need PR by Elizabeth.
Oh my God. I have that on my Kindle. I'm very excited about it.
I'm a whole 9 pages in, so I have nothing to tell you.
I was about to ask you, is it good?
Literally haven't even met the other main character yet.
I've read The Bone King and The Starling and loved it. I haven't read Hero Megaverse, so I was very excited for this one. So
yeah, I've DNF'd 3 sci-fi books this morning.
Just this morning? Wow.
Yeah.
Good work.
And also my May wrap up, I don't know if this has happened before or not because I can never remember, but I have more DNFs than books read in May. It was not good.
I feel like you've had a wrap up where that's the case.
I feel like for me too, because I feel like every time I'm like, I don't know if this has ever happened before. I feel like surely one of the times I've said that it was happening. I just know it's a bad sign. That's not good.
That's okay. You're just looking for quality. That's all it is.
Yeah. I feel like that tends to happen when you're on the hunt for something in particular.
Well, a couple days ago, I read 2 3-stars, a duology, because I was like, I can finish this. So at least I'm reading something.
Yeah.
Because if I had good books before that, I would have just DNF'd it. But I was like, this is readable. Let's do it.
The bar was so low that you were like, it just barely.
You guys will see in my May wrap up, but on the 29th or whatever, I DNF'd 8 books and then read that duology. Because I got really badly sunburned on Memorial Day and I could not move my arms or lay back. I couldn't lay down without it being awful. It's still uncomfortable, but I can move. So I didn't even read anything the next day after that. Then I read the Firebird Chronicles book that I needed. And then it was just like, and that was the first book I'd read in a week since The Knight and The Moth. And I was like, I am literally sitting here unable to do anything with like my house driving me nuts. Like everything's driving me nuts because like everything I was going to do this week basically got postponed to like this week because I was like, all right, can't move. In a lot of pain, actually. Many mistakes were made. So I was like, from like the time I woke up, I mean, I did other things, but from the time I woke up until like after midnight, I kept trying to read books and they were trash.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I even DNF'd an arc. I was like, all right, well, we're trying to read. We'll just read the arc. No, we won't.
Didn't I?
And it wasn't me. I'm telling you right now. It sounds like it was me, but it wasn't me. It was the book.
Which arc was that? Just out of curiosity.
I think I'm in love with an alien.
I was going to say, was it the Anna Guire one? Because that book has terrible ratings.
It's like what I read was fine and stuff. It's an alien trapped on Earth. She doesn't know he's an alien. He has to hide that he's an alien. He's trying to leave. She's like really into aliens. But it's like, I never like when the conflict is I'm a paranormal and you don't know that paranormals exist.
It had, because I saw it pop up on NetGalley and I was like, oh, I'm curious. And I like went and looked it up and I was like, just kidding, I'm not requesting that. And then both you and Izzy were like, I have this book. And I was like,
Steph has it too.
Oh, I'm interested to see what they say.
I
think I saw it too. Yeah.
I requested it and then changed my mind. I was like, it's fine. I didn't get approved. And then got approved like a month later. I was like, oh.
You can go in and withdraw.
Yeah.
Because I will do that occasionally.
It's got a 3.3. Oh, that's not good.
Especially for like a romance.
Yeah. Well,
I read like 30% or so. Again, it wasn't terrible. It's just not really.
Yeah.
Well, I'd be super interested in.
Yeah, I'm not seeing a great. Oh, I could refuse. So I have read Anna Guire before, I'm pretty sure. And I think it was just for me. So
I really liked the Perdition trilogy.
Yeah.
And I really like that. Like those are going to be some of my favorite books of the year, but also is like exactly the type of tropes I like. So take that with a grain of salt, you know? Yeah. It was a French vanilla coffee. That was a good French vanilla coffee. And I like French vanilla coffee. So obviously that type of thing. Yeah. But then I liked the other alien one, Strangelove. I liked that fine. Didn't really like this one. I'm gonna try the one that Perdition was a spinoff series for, and hope that I really like that one too, more than the Alien.
I read the Sinrantha Jax.
Yeah, that one. The one
I gave that a 2-star back in when did I read that? 2019. So I remembered that one, and I also tried one of her like witchy romances, and I wasn't a fan. So
I don't even know if I knew she had witchy romances.
I think it's Witch Please, the Fix-It Witches.
Oh, that's right from the title. That doesn't really sound like anything I'm gonna like.
Yeah. The first one also has a 3.3. Yeah, I remembered I loved the covers of the Sinrantha Jax books because that's like they were really pretty mass markets, but I did not enjoy that one. So
yeah.
I saw I was gonna ask Robin, but she had to know about the Behooved by M. Stevenson. I have that arc.
I know she read it.
I have the arc, and I really want to read it. I also have the physical copy now. I just was curious what she thought of it. It does look ridiculous, but it's a horse book.
Have you guys watched My Lady Jane?
You talking about Behooved?
Yes, I am.
3 stars.
Okay, all right. I've got it downstairs. I'm gonna pick it up.
It's entertaining.
Yeah.
But I was not satisfied with the end.
Okay. Dang.
Fun. Did either of you watch My Lady Jane on Prime?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, because it has like a horse shifter trope too, which like I loved it for the show. It sounds very unappealing to me though.
No, the horse thing is actually pretty funny and behooved. The whole thing ends up being just like a kind of like a mistake.
Yes.
Like a misunderstanding type thing. I just didn't like how it all ends.
Yeah, the wrap up on it.
That's fair. The wrap up was so unsatisfying that I was like, oh.
Yeah. I read Haley Kyoko's got a new book coming out in the fall. I think it's November. Fall, hell, that's the winter. In the winter. And it's a queer sapphic historical, and it had that problem. I loved the first part, but like the wrap up, I was just like, oh, yeah. Little miss. So I get it.
Yeah. It's always a bummer when the very end of the book is the part that you're
like, landing doesn't stick.
Yeah. It gets a little predictable, and it's just like, okay.
Yeah.
Oh well.
All right.
Anything else about this book? Because I'm gonna click end.
I think that's it for me. Thanks for talking.
We will have to do this in hopefully a year. I hope. But thank you everyone for watching, and if you enjoyed the book, I hope you enjoyed the stream too. Bye.